Hello everyone, Andy Schwab here with your Northern Ag TV. Well, as you likely heard, I had the chance to join my fellow farm broadcasters from across the country last week in Washington, D.C. We had a great opportunity and a chance to hear updates from some of the top department heads from the Trump administration, including USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins, NRCS Chief Aubrey Betancourt, and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, to name a few. I asked Administrator Zeldin about the pesticide rule released by the previous administration and its focus on aligning with the Endangered Species Act and how its complexity can get confusing for a lot of growers. Zeldin said there are certainly laws that they have to follow in the rulemaking process. However, his administration wants to hear from growers when something is not working for them.
Any individual growers that are out there and they read the insecticide strategy and they have an idea for us on how to do anything better, let us know and we'll update it. This isn't a final document. I don't come to this table closed-minded. If anyone has any feedback of how to do anything better, I would encourage them to weigh in.
Other conversations from the nation's capital from last week regarded the Food and Drug Administration public comment request on a draft guidance for labeling plant-based meat alternatives to animal-derived foods. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association submitted their comments on Thursday and urged the FDA to toughen the rules for the fake meat marketing. More specifically, NCBA Senior Director of Government Affairs Sigrid Johannes said the beef industry is happy to compete with the fake meat industry. However, it should be on a level playing field where only real beef products, that is, can use beef-like imagery and advertising.
The problem is those current rules are very permissive. They let fake meat companies get away with a lot when it comes to how they market those products. And we submitted comments this week basically telling the FDA to tighten up their act and toughen up some of these restrictions to prevent misleading marketing. This is really an issue of consumer clarity. It's an issue of unfair marketing practices. And we are totally happy to compete with these products on a fair playing field, but you shouldn't be able to call something beef and sell it like it's beef when it's not beef.
Also from the nation's capital last week, the National Farmers Union held their annual fly-in. This year's theme was titled For Farmers' Sake, and NFU Next Generation Advisory Representative Kara Ronan told me the theme was based and designed to get a strong farm bill passed.
The farm safety net with that and things like, EQIP funding, where we're seeing some volatility with the closing, which a lot of folks back home in Montana can relate to, of our FSA and USDA offices, and seeing those staffing changes happen and what that means going forward and what that looks like. So I think being here, I would say you can't know what you don't know. So I can't assume that anyone on Capitol Hill necessarily knows what's happening back home on our farm operation. So being able to be here and be in front of them and actually give voice to, hey, did you know that this is what we're experiencing back home? Did you know that they closed this office? You'd be surprised about how many times we're like, I'm going to take a note of that, or let me check into that. Just having those open dialogues and discussions so that we can move forward with some certainty.
Now, NFU members spoke with representatives and senators from multiple states, sharing their personal stories about how new policies are impacting them on a day-to-day basis. And keeping the report on the road, Governor Greg Gianforte was promoting agriculture last week. He made a stop at the Swanky Roots in Billings to celebrate the Small Business Administration Week and recognize the contributions of small business owners and the entrepreneurs of Montana's economy. Co-owner of Swanky Roots, Veronica Evenson, told our Northern News Networks, that is, Ken Idelblue, they were honored to be the U.S. Small Business Administration as Montana's 2025 Young Entrepreneur of the Year.
It's exciting to see that recognition for all the hard work these last couple of years. We've really put our heart and soul into here. I spend lots of hours, lots of miles walking around. And so it's been great just to kind of see that, put on paper, that recognition.
Congratulations to them and their operation, which combines aquaculture and hydroponics in a closed-loop system and uses koi fish as natural fertilizer in a variety of greens and vegetables. Well, let's take a quick break, but we're going to come back and talk about some of these record-high cattle prices.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.
talking with someone that you know is stressed out. Those are difficult things to approach, but if you're good friends with those people, reach out and say, I'm here to talk to you. We can find somewhere to get some assistance. It's hard to get involved, but at the same time, you want to just say, hey, there is help available.
For more tips in dealing with stress in agriculture or for free counseling for egg producers, visit beyondtheweather.com.
Well, the record high cattle prices from last week took a little bit of a breather at the end of the week to enjoy the view from the top. Not only did we see records broken on the cattle futures yet again, but some negotiated sales surged to all-time highs as well. Now, this week's guess of prices is likely to be steady as traders try to figure out how strong of a base the industry is built and whether or not it is too top-heavy at this point. Now, that strength from the board is also being reflected in the countryside as local auction barns continue to climb to uncharted territories. That, of course, comes with the caveat that they're not seeing many feeder cattle tests throughout the markets, with the producers getting ready to move the cattle to their summer pastures. And most of the sale barn tests coming from the coal and replacement coal cow tests, and they've had no problem holding on their historical levels. For the sheep tests, many producers are lambing out right now, so the head counts are also lacking lately. Prices, though, do continue to depend on the quality, with lower dressing ewes sagging back about 15 to 20 cents last week at Newell sheep yards. And sadly, the black eyes and beatdowns continued last week for the wheat complex as traders continue to pile into record short positions across the three major contracts. Now, USDA's latest World Ag Supply and Demand Estimates report this morning will be a pivotal moment for the wheat market, as it represents the most immediate opportunity for bearish wheat traders to find some source of bullishness, which could possibly incentivize them to begin covering their short positions. There certainly are some optimistic hopes that that will happen, whether it be the historically low wheat acreage in the U.S. or the dry weather in the growing season of China and Russia. Either way, something will need to happen, as Friday's low was the lowest price in the front month of KC winter wheat futures since October of 2020. Well, that's going to do it for today's Ag News and everything here on Northern Ag TV. I'm Andy Schwab. Have a great rest of your day.